members of the Energy Regulator who will be taking part in this meeting and making the decisions. I'll start with the CEO, Advocate Nomalanga Stole. Advocate Stole, if you could greet.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members, and all the members of the public that have joined us on this platform for our meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you. And next would be the Chairperson of the Audit Risk Committee and also a member of the Electricity Subcommittee, Ms. Precious Sibia. Ms. Sibia. Ms. Sibia.
Chairperson, Ms. Sibia is traveling. I believe she tendered her apology. Apologies for that.
Thank you. We will take the apology from Ms. Sibia. We'll then move on to the next member. It's Nomfundo Maseti, who is the regulator member primarily responsible for pipe gas and a member of various committees of the Energy Regulator. Ms. Maseti?
Yeah, Chair, morning. She's struggling to connect. We are trying to help her. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll then go on to the next member. This is the chairperson of the Finance Committee and a member of the Electricity Subcommittee as well. This is Ms. Tembe Gasimani.
A very good morning to you, Chair, and to the members of the public and also my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Imane. The next member is Mr. Nhlanhla Gumede, who is the regulator member primarily responsible for electricity regulation. Mr. Gumede.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members, colleagues, and the members of the public.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. We then have Mr. Fungai Sibanda, who is the chairperson of our IT Governance Committee and a member of other committees of the Energy Regulator. Mr. Sibanda.
Morning, Chair, morning, colleagues, and good morning to the members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. And the last member who is attending this meeting is Mr. Mkhize, who is the regulator member primarily responsible for petroleum pipelines regulation at NESA and a member of various committees and subcommittees of the Energy Regulator. Mr. Mkhize.
Good morning, Chairperson, fellow board members, as well as management and all the members of the public that are following us through the various live streaming platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Members of the public, those are the members of the Energy Regulator who would be taking decisions in this meeting. We are going to move to item number 3 as per our advertised agenda, and this is the agenda of this meeting. We have items as listed from 5 right up to, I think it's, apologies, I think up to 9. Item number 9, may I request the members of the Energy Regulator to indicate by raising their hands if they are approving this agenda. But Advocate Sitole, Mr. Gumede, Mr. Mkhize, Ms. Simane, and Mr. Sibanda. So the agenda is approved. We are then going to go to the next item on the agenda, the declaration of interest. May I request that members complete the declaration of interest forms, as well as the NESA staff that's here to complete the forms and forward them to Faye. But if there is anyone who would like to make a verbal declaration, this is the time. Any verbal declarations, please raise your hand and indicate. Thank you. We have none. We will then complete the forms and submit them to Faye. We are now going to move on to item number 5. Item number 5 is the report from the chairperson of the Electricity Subcommittee. And this is going to be done by Mr. Nhlanhla Gumede, the regulator member primarily responsible for electricity regulation at NESA. Mr. Gumede, please take us through 5.1 and 5.2.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning again. I'll be presenting a report of the Electricity Subcommittee. The first one is a request to the Energy Regulator to approve the ESCOM Generation SQI framework This is based on the fact that the Eskom generation fleet has been deteriorating over the past few years, and the generation SQI framework has been developed to improve the supply and to incentivize Eskom generation to improve its performance through increasing its energy availability factor and decreasing the unit capability loss factors, UCLF. I'll take the presentation as read. Just highlight a few items. The framework recognizes that a reliable generation sector is key to ensuring security of supply and ultimately deal with load shedding. This is vital to ensure economic growth and social well-being and the ability of the economy to provide much needed jobs. Since the implementation of the MIPD, only the generation SQI framework has been outstanding. The submission was presented to the Electricity Subcommittee on the 6th of August 2024, and the ELS approved the submission subject to a couple of comments which are listed in the table. We'll maybe just indicate just two of those. The one of them is that the committee wanted clarity on why the two indices were apportioned the weighting of 80% to UCLF and only 20% for the EAF. This is sufficiently responded to in the table. The other question the committee wanted clarity on was whether the scheme will only be applicable to all generators or only the Eskom generators. And again, that the answer is provided in the table, which talks to the link between the SQIs, the link with the MIPD methodology. The committee is here to recommend that the energy regulator approves the Eskom generation SQI. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Members of the energy regulator, here's a submission in front of us, and the recommendations are, as Mr. Gumede has indicated. Any questions, concerns, points of clarity that you would want to raise? Please indicate by raising your hand. There are no questions. Can I then take you to paragraph number 7, where it is recommended that the energy regulator approves the Eskom generations SQI framework as attached in attachment A. Please indicate your approval by raising your hand. But Mr. Gumede, Advocate Sithole, Ms. Simane, Ms. Masetti, welcome Ms. Masetti, and Mr. Spanda and Mr. Mkhize. So the Eskom generations SQI framework as attached in Annex A is approved. Mr. Gumede, you can then take us to the next item, 5.2.
Thank you, Chair. 5.2 captures two sets of minutes of the 2nd of July and others, and minutes of the meeting of the 19th of July. I do not have any matter that I'd like to emphasize. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Ms. Simana, I see your hand is still up. I'm hoping it's
Apologies, Chair, it's a legacy hand.
Thank you. Colleagues, we've got the minutes of the meeting of the 2nd of July 2024 and the minutes of the meeting of the 19th of July 2024. Any points that you would want to clarify, as Mr. Gumede has indicated that there are no matters that you'd like to emphasize? If not, colleagues, may you please indicate by raising your hand if you are noting these minutes. But Mr. Gumede, Ms. Simane, Mr. Mkhize, Mr. Spanda, and Ms. Masetti. Advocate Sithole? Advocate Sithole, I did not see your hand. Okay, those are enough to note the minutes, so the minutes are noted. Colleagues, we are going to step off the electricity subcommittee now and move on to the report from the chairperson of the piped gas subcommittee. This is Ms. Nomfundo Maseti. Ms. Maseti, we're on item 6. Please assist us with item 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. Ms. Maseti, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, may I request that you start with the petroleum pipelines? I'm struggling with my devices. I'll sort them out in a minute or so.
Thank you. Colleagues, with that request, I'm then going to request the chairperson of the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee, the regulator member responsible for petroleum pipelines regulation at NESA, Mr. Mkhize, to take us through items 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. Mr. Mkhize, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will go through 7.1 as put forth. Here, we are putting forward as the PPS, the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee, the request in terms of the proposal on the way forward on the implementation of the bulk storage determination. I will take the matter as read, and then on the 26th of May 2016, the Energy Regulator determined that what constitutes a bulk storage facility, and as such, there was this separation of what is bulk and what is non-bulk. And from that point of view, we were of the view that when you have such a determination, from time to time, you need to then revisit it by way of reviewing as you implement. So, unfortunately, because of a lot of other challenges, the bulk determination was not fully implemented as was envisaged. Nevertheless, we looked at that because the Petroleum Pipelines Act is the only act that does not, amongst the 3 acts, that does not have registration. You need to license everything, hence looking at this issue of bulk determination. So in reviewing it, we then came to a situation where we considered various options to take this bulk determination forward. With option 1, which is lessening compliance requirements for non-bulk storage licenses, being the one of choice, the preferred one, and then we also have got another one, which is suspending the compliance requirements for non-bulk storage licenses and revising and implementing the revised determination. The option 4 being to implement the determination as is and seeking the revocation or rescinding of the determination as the 5th option, and just to continue the status quo as option 6. These are all contained here, and the deliberations of the PPS are articulated under paragraph 6, with management's responses to questions or comments also being provided. So the recommendation, Chairperson, is that the Energy Regulator notes the report on the proposed way forward on the bulk storage determination, which is attached as Annexure A, and approves the lessening of compliance requirements by non-bulk storage licensees as detailed in Table 3 below, which then talks to the submission of actual storage tariffs, as well as the allocation mechanism, the approved tariffs to allow for longer multi-year tariff applications by non-bulk storage licenses, etc. Those are enumerated under Table 3, including also submission of number of incidents of damage to licenses, to license facilities caused by third parties and resulting in damages, and also the provision of financial security for the rehabilitation of land that is acceptable to NERSA. And lastly, with the compliance with the regulatory reporting manuals. It's just to lessen the compliance requirements. In other words, just to loosen the license conditions that pertain to those that are deemed to be non-bank. I will leave it at that, Chairperson, as I said, that I take the matter as read. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Colleagues, we have the submission in front of us. Any questions, comments, points to be clarified? Please indicate by raising your hand. There are no questions or comments, and I'm going to take you, colleagues, to then the recommendations on paragraph 14, and as read out by Mr. Mkhize, 14.1 and 14.2, and 14.11 and 14.12, where there's the table there. I will take that table as read, and as it has also been read by Mr. Mkhize onto the record. Please indicate by raising your hands if you are in support of approving this. I've got Ms. Simane, Ms. Maseti, Mr. Gumede, Advocate Sithole, and Mr. Mkhize, I assume you are also approving. And Mr. Sibanda. And Mr. Mkhize, thank you. The submission is approved. Mr. Mkhize, we can then go to item 7.2.
Thank you, Chairperson. Members, on the 7.2 item, we've got the guidelines on volume risk sharing mechanism between petroleum pipeline storage and loading operators with the third parties. So when we looked at that, this was prompted by COVID-19 in essence, where when we consider the Transnet tariff application of 2022-23, we're concerned about the volatility of tariffs and canvassed with the stakeholders on the mechanism that could be used to smoothen the tariff or cushion the impact of high and volatile tariff increases. Noting that some issues are actually totally outside of the control of the consumers in terms of them having an abrupt decrease in demand, or the providers of service in terms of the transmission of pipelines finding themselves in a situation where there are less volumes having to be shipped through those pipeline as well as storage infrastructures. So it is from that point of view that we considered that in terms of also creating a situation where we don't have excessive tariff increases, which when I talk of excessive tariff increases, the PPS required the team to further clarify what they mean by that, which is provided under 4.2. Under 4.2.1, you can see we talk of excessively higher than inflation increases, disproportionate disproportionate to cost, and looking at the impact on consumers, where the substantial financial hardship for end users, and particularly if it leads to significant increases in the cost of goods and services. And also just to look at it in the economic context, where there are periods of economic decline, such as recessions or recoveries from crises like COVID-19 pandemic, and any tariff that exacerbates financial stress on consumers and businesses, that they can be deemed to be excessive. And also when one considers this from a point of view of regulatory benchmarks. So that this was considered, and in considering this, we came up with various options to consider, which options are under 5.5, the paragraph, which one is deferment of allowable revenue and recognition, such as regulated asset or liabilities. And then 2 is the partial disallowance of allowable revenue. 3 being the simultaneous allowance, deferral, and disallowance. And then as we were provided this in terms of the guideline. We under table 2, we've got the comparison of the recommended mechanism and listing their pros and cons. And then it was recommended that the energy regulator approve the decision and reasons for decision on the guidelines on volume risk sharing mechanism between petroleum pipeline storage and loading operators and third parties, which is attached as Annex A, and also the guidelines on volume risk sharing mechanism between petroleum pipeline storage and loading operators and third parties, which is attached as Annex B. I will leave it at that, Chairperson, and request that maybe if there are any questions to deal with, I have the team to also support me in responding to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Colleagues, members of the regulator, any questions, comments, or points to be clarified? Please indicate by raising your hands. There's no questions, Mr. Mkhize. It's very clear. So, colleagues, may I take you to the recommendations as read out by Mr. Mkhize on 14.1 or paragraph 14? Please indicate by raising your hands if you are in support of approving it. I've got Ms. Semane, Mr. Gumede, Ms. Maseti, Mr. Mkhize, Advocate Sithole. I'm missing Mr. Sibanda and Mr. Sibanda. Thank you. Item 7.2 is approved. Mr. Mkhize, we're going to now move on to item 7.3.
Thank you, Chairperson. Under 7.3, these are minutes of the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee meeting number 185, which was held on Wednesday, the 5th of June, 2024, virtually via Microsoft Teams. I would not like to highlight specific issues. I take it as the minutes as having been read, and I stand ready to respond to any questions or comments from the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Colleagues, any questions, comments, points to be clarified on the minutes? If none, colleagues, may you please indicate by raising your hands if you are happy to note these minutes. Got Ms. Maseti, Advocate Sithole, Mr. Gumede, Mr. Mkhize, Ms. Semane, and Mr. Sibanda. The minutes are noted. The next item is 7.4, terms of reference, and I see here it is going to be presented by you, Mr. Mkhize and Mr. Ndanzi. Please take us through.
I'm not sure whether it's not a governance matter that I was still doubting in terms of 7.4 and 7.5 to be dealt with maybe under governance. Just want to confirm that.
Ms. Faye?
Yes, Chair, there are governance matters. Remember, we have pushed the agenda the other way around. So ideally, we should be closing the meeting after having already dealt with the pipe gas subcommittee report. So as the agenda stands now, we should be closing to deal with 7.4 and 7.5.
Colleagues, what we are going to do, because I had said we are approving and we went through this, so we are going to hold 7.4 and 7.5, and then we'll go back to item 6 for Ms. Maseti to take us through the pipe gas subcommittee. And then, Faye, if during that time you are going to indicate the items that are going to move on to, because I think item 8 and 9 are in the part of the closed meeting as well as the other 2 items on 7. Thank you. Ms. Maseti, are you ready?
Yes, Chairperson, I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maseti. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, we are on item 6.1, and this item is the report from the Chairperson of the Pipe Gas Subcommittee, and this report relates to the application by Sasol Gas for clawback of the costs that it has incurred for the period July 2022 until 30 June 2023. This report was tabled before the pipe gas subcommittee, and the cost that Sasol Gas is claiming in this application are costs that it has incurred at the time of charging the maximum prices, the adjustments, and the fact that its own costs have increased. So these are not necessarily the costs that relate to the international benchmark or the windfall profits as the adjustments for the gas prices internationally were quite substantial. Sasol Gas opted not to adjust its prices accordingly, and therefore it then approached the energy regulator to can only be allowed to recover the actual costs that it has incurred. You will recall, members, that Sasol Gas has attempted initially to bring this up in this application, but it has used a wrong methodology, number one. Number two, it has also claimed other things that were outside the methodology, and also some of the costs that were viewed as irrational. So that was the reason, and therefore the energy regulator guided as to how or what can be considered by the energy regulator, which is the actual cost that were incurred in providing the gas trading activities. Now, in this application, Chairperson, as the energy regulator or the NERSA staff analyzed it and brought it to the to the PGS, the High Court judgment was delivered. And the High Court judgment indicated that the maximum price calculation was based on a methodology that inherited factors that are happening in other markets and not happening in South Africa. And therefore, those factors then they will cause, to simplify, Chairperson, the use of the international benchmarking is not reasonable in the context of South Africa. And they said also that even though we have included the rationality test, which is to consider the cost and compare with the price, they say that it will not cure the possibility of irrationality. And on that basis, then they have set aside the energy regulator decision, and they remitted the matter back to the energy regulator to recalculate Sasol Gas's maximum price. Now, this clawback application, those costs, they fall within that decision and within that period, and therefore affected by the judgment itself. So on that basis, the energy regulator, through its subcommittee, the pipe gas, it then recommended to the regulator not to approve, because we need to redo the work as per the court judgment. However, Chairperson, before the report came to be considered today by the energy regulator, Sasol Gas has informed the energy regulator that, or the team from gas, that it has taken a decision to appeal the High Court judgment, because it has found things that will make it difficult for not only Sasol Gas, but also for the energy regulator to come up with a methodology that could incorporate certain things, and that also this constrains its investment decision, as it was looking forward to continue to serve the South African market. So we've got that aspect, which is a new development following the PGS decision, that it will appeal the High Court judgment. But we have not received any notice of motion in that regard. And I believe since we don't have any official not sort of a notice of motion to appeal the High Court judgment, Chairperson, the recommendations from the Pipe Gas Committee still stand, Chairperson, and then also to indicate that the methodology that was used by Sasol for the calculation of clawback is a methodology that was already appealed, as we had a new methodology as of January 2023. Chairperson, those are the key things that I would like to bring to the attention of the energy regulator. And lastly, just for the energy regulator to note the deliberations that took place at the PGS. The recommendation on paragraph 6.1.1 are that the energy regulator is requested not to approve Sasol Gas's application for clawback for the period July 2022 until 30 June 2023. And then the reasons for decision are supposed to have been attached as Annexure A. Chairperson, as we take this decision, it is important that I highlight the uncertainty in the market and the fact that Sasol Gas, it is taking now too long for the main supplier of gas in South Africa to can recover its own cost, not cost that are sort of notional, but the actual cost. So that should also be considered by the energy regulator, and also to consider also the impact not only in terms of future investments by this company, but also the fact that we do not want to have situations, as we regulate, to have situations where there is a revenue shortfall that ought to have been recovered by the regulated entity. That is not the aim of an economic regulator. But Chairperson, those are things that can also be taken into consideration and guidance be provided so that this entity does not keep coming to the energy regulator and the energy regulator does not provide some guidance as to how it can recover its own cost. I would like to stop there, Chairperson. Thank you very much. I was just providing guidance and the forward-looking or the foresight in terms of providing certainty going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Massetti, for that. Members, we have a submission in front of us with its complexities. I already have the hand of Mr. Sibanda. Mr. Sibanda, please go ahead.
Sorry, Chairperson, I was too quick on the...
it's okay, Mr. Sibanda.
On the keypad there. My apology, Chair. Chairperson, whilst I do understand the recommendation and the difficulties brought about by the judgment, I just wanted to check in terms of process. Because the judgment came after we had sought stakeholder comments or after we had published the application for consultation, shouldn't we have gone back to the public so that when we make this decision, at least we have the advantage of stakeholder input on the developments that came after the publication of the application? I'm just a bit concerned that we are making this decision, whilst I do understand and probably also support the recommendation, but one would have loved to hear what the public says, or even the applicant itself on this particular matter, Chair. That's the only thing that I wanted to raise. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I think coupled with that, Ms. Massetti, I think we just need to also have a good view on what would then happen if they appeal, Sasol appeals and they are successful. So what would happen? Would we require them to reapply, or would we then require to rescind our decision? If we could clarify that part as well. Thank you, Ms. Masetti. I don't see any other hands, so those are the two questions.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think I need to be assisted here because these are legal questions, especially the one that you have just asked, Chairperson, and hence I had to bring it to the attention of the energy regulator before we take a final decision to indicate that Sasol will appeal the High Court judgment. And therefore, as we know, once there is an appeal, it means we have to wait for the appeal process to be finalized, and therefore the judgment itself will kind of be, I would say, be suspended. We don't have to implement what the High Court has indicated. So I would like to be assisted there by Advocate Murati and Mr. Chokwe as to the questions that were asked. Mr. Sibanda, as well, on your question, I think they can also guide us in terms of the process. Assume that there is no appeal in place, but the court has made its decision to say we set the NERSA's decision aside, and now we bring this matter back to you, NERSA, for you to reconsider. So it means that this is just another aspect that will arise from that process if we were to look into the original application by Sasol Gas, and therefore even this part of not recovering some of the cost would be cured by us re-looking into that matter afresh, as it has been remitted before us. So I thought that in terms of process, that could have been taken into consideration when we relook into the matter as it has been remitted to us. But I'm subject to correction in terms of the interpretation by the legally trained and competent people. Mr. Chairperson, through you, if I can be assisted by Mr. Chokwe as well as Mr. Murati. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. I think Mr. Murati, you may want to direct it to whoever is now acting as at legal, but nothing prevents you from also providing input. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think I missed the question, but I would, if Ms. Mkize is on the platform, or Mr. Chok to assist.
Okay, Ms. Mkize, are you on the platform? Ms. Mkize, are you in the meeting? Because I don't see the name of Mkize. As far as I understand, Mr. Chogwa may be on leave, so I don't see him as well.
So maybe the question can be repeated. I can give it a shot.
Okay, there are two questions or three that have been asked. The first one is around the process. Mr. Sibanda is asking that now that there has been a judgment, aren't we then required to go back to the public to make public consultation before making the decision? Because the decision we're making it in the absence of the judgment, but now there's a judgment, so we need to get inputs of the public. The question I was asking is that now that Sasol has appealed, which then means that we don't have the reason why we're not approving, what would happen when we make this decision? And if Sasol wins, then the case, what would happen when we make this decision? So in my point is, or my direct question is, shouldn't we postpone making this decision and wait for the results of the appeal? And that's what Ms. Masetti was saying she requires assistance with. And Mr. Morati, can you also then indicate who in your department, Lars, who has worked on this, who is able to assist, because we are not going to be asking for people who are not in the meeting. Did you get the questions, Mr. Morati?
Yes, I did, Chairperson. Let me deal with the first one of Mr. Sibanda. That once an administrative decision has been reviewed and set aside and remitted, that is affording NERSA an opportunity to remedy the errors that have been identified in the totality of the judgment of the decision or on specific matters. And that compels NERSA to, when remedying those aspects, to have to follow the very process that was followed, similar to when the first decision was made, because the remission doesn't give the regulator an opportunity to skip any aspect relating to procedural fairness. So the matter will have to be considered almost like right from the beginning, the way it was, but on those specific aspects that the court order has raised, if it's not the totality of it. The second question relating to Sasol appeal and the decision of the regulator. Two things that might happen depending on what they live to appeal of Sasol relates to. If it's on a specific aspect that relates only to Sasol, the decision that is applicable to the regulator on the part, the regulator will still be expected to. But if there is a nexus between what the Sasol is appealing on and the decision of the regulator relating to the matter, then the most prudent thing is to await the finalization of the leave to appeal part before the regulator can commence with its process, because there could be a variance that the regulator may end up sitting with two decisions that it would have made. Because if Sasol succeeds in appeal, therefore the decision of the regulator that existed at the time, it remains valid and enforceable. So it is prudent on the part of the regulator to await that process if it can be confirmed that there is a leave to appeal that has taken place, papers have been filed and parties notified. The last question, Chair, that you have raised, I believe Mr. Mashiane is the one that has been helping the piped gas, and I will engage him on the part and also the acting HOD to give the matter an attention. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Murati. Ms. Maseti, I think what we are leaning towards is maybe let us delay making the decision, but I also want to check from you the harm that would be caused by us delaying making the decision pending the confirmation of the appeal that has been launched by Sasol. And if there is that appeal, then yes, we would be rightfully delaying the decision. I don't know what your take is, Ms. Maseti and members.
If I may start, Chairperson, as I indicated, so that before we take the decision, there is an indication by Sasol to appeal. So I thought that aspect is very crucial before we take the final decision. Chairperson, I think it will be prudent that we delay it so that we at least wait to hear whether Sasol will be granted leave to appeal, and also maybe see whether the final verdict of the appeal is in favor of Sasol. So those are the two things. I do support that. However, Chairperson, I must also bring it to the attention of the energy regulator that we do have procedures that are approved, and as you know, that even with the performance, the auditing of performance, it may affect that aspect of the audit of performance. So it will also be important that the energy regulator be alive to that point, and so that it can be reflected in the decision. And it would be because it is a legal reason that is beyond our control. If that can also be factored in the way that we are going to take the final decision on this, Chairperson. Otherwise, in principle, I am also comfortable with the delay, so that the energy regulator doesn't come across, difficulties in managing different legal decisions or processes. But we need to also take into account our own targets, as well as the something that may come later by the AG in terms of complying with our own procedures, and the fact that there is nothing in the decision that reflects why we deviated from the procedures. I'm emphasizing this because we once experienced it with the AG, and even though we achieved, the AG said the minutes did not reflect that, and it affected the pipe gas adversely and the energy regulator. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Maseti. So I think here the energy regulator is making a decision, and the decision is that we are not going to approve, not going to make a final decision on the matter because it's still under court review. So I mean, even if our processes, I think we will have to work with and around our processes, because making decisions when things are still under consideration also does not put us in a good light. But I think, Ms. Maseti, you can assist in the crafting of that, and let's minute it as such that we are going to craft this decision in a manner that ensures that we meet all of our other requirements and obligations, and we are not seen to have not done what we're supposed to do. So, Faye, I think that we will even have it as a matter arising how it was crafted, but it will be crafted such that it doesn't transgress our APP and all other issues that we have to look at. But the decision, colleagues, is that we are not approving. We are going to craft. We are not going ahead. We are not implementing that. We are not approving the clawback, but we are suspending that pending the court ruling on Sasol's appeal. But we will then craft something that shows that we have deliberated on the matter. Please indicate, colleagues, by raising your hand if you're in support of the proposal. But Ms. Maseti, Ms. Simane, Mr. Spanda, Mr. Gumede, Mr. Mkhize, Advocate Sithole, and Advocate Sithole. Thank you. So we're accepting that we'll still craft it, but we are not implementing the decision as was proposed. Thank you. Ms. Maseti, you can take us to item 6.2.
Thank you, Chairperson. This item, Chairperson, focuses on the aggregate results, which are the average prices of gas per region, and these prices of gas include prices of gas that has been transported by pipeline, and some that were in the pipeline but then injected into compressed natural gas so that they can meet customers that are not in areas where there are pipelines. So what we are requesting in terms of this decision is that the energy regulator approves that these calculations that were done, that they be published, and these prices entail prices that were charged in an aggregated manner in Gauteng, in Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, as well as in Mpumalanga. And I must also just emphasize that the aggregate results is also part of the sort of the requirement to calculate and publish the aggregate results emanate from the piped gas regulations, Chairperson, which also guides us that if customers are less than 3 in a particular region, we need to not show the consolidated or aggregated prices. And this is also to assist customers in the negotiation and bargaining for competitive prices in those regions. And it is in terms of the regulations. So Table 1 shows the classes of customers as well as the different regions and the aggregated prices that were charged in those regions. You will see that some of the prices highlighted in yellow so that we then treat those prices as confidential, particularly because customers are 3 and therefore it will be easy to tell who's charging what actual price. And as Table 1, Chairperson, similar calculation has been done insofar as compressed natural gas traders are concerned and the customers of such traders. And that information is on Table 2. The reasons and all the clarification in terms of how this was done has been provided per region, and also we tried to do some comparison in terms of the graphs so that members can see clearly what is actually happening and the comparison across the different regions. Now, in terms of the decision, Chairperson, we now request the energy regulator to approve that the aggregate results of gas prices for customers in Gauteng, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, as well as Mpumalanga for the calendar year 2023 be approved as shown in Table 1 for the pipeline customers, as well as Table 2 for compressed natural gas customers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Masetti. Colleagues, we have the submission in front of us. Any questions, comments, points to be clarified? I have no other hands. I think Ms. Masetti's hand is the old one. May I then take you to the recommendations? As read out by Ms. Masetti, I'm just trying to scroll down to I think it's paragraph number 7.11, and 7.12. Please indicate, colleagues, by raising your hand if you are in support of approving the recommendations. Ms. Ngube, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairperson. Sorry to cut you short there. Chairperson, with regard to recommendation 7.1.2, in previous applications that we've dealt with or previous submissions, we have not included what has been standard procedure. I just want to check whether we are actually approving that. Is this a different case, or we're going to continue with what you had asked previously? Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Faye. Ms. Masetti, are you able to respond?
Chairperson, just to assist and without delaying your meeting, may I request that the energy regulator notes the aggregate results of pipeline customers in Gauteng, as well as the CNG customers as shown on those tables. And then we strike out the approval of the, of the publication. Thereof. So it means 7.1 stays, Chair, because it doesn't.
Noting.
Yes, and then 7.2 we strike it out, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Faye. Colleagues, so we only are going to note 7.1 and we do not have 7.12. So please, can you indicate again your support by raising your hand? I've got Mr. Sibanda, Ms. Semane, Mr. Gumede, Ms. Maseti, Mr. Mkhize, and Advocate Sithole. Thank you. We have noted that Ms. Maseti, I think the last one is 6.3, the minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. In terms of the minutes, Chairperson, I don't have anything to highlight. These are minutes of the PGS meeting of 6 June 2024, as well as the minutes of the pipe gas meeting of 4 July 2024. I have no issues that I would like to highlight for the members, but I can take questions of clarity if there are any. Thank you, Chair. You're on mute, Chairperson.
Apologies. I've just read it. Colleagues, any questions, comments, or points you'd like to clarify? No hands. If not, may I request that you indicate by raising your hands if you are in support of noting the minutes of the PGS. Mr. Sibanda, Mede, Ms. Maseti, Mr. Mkhize, and Ms. Semane, and Advocate Sithole. Thank you. The minutes are noted. Colleagues, is this the point where, Faye, can you guide me? Because according to this agenda, is this the point where we close the meeting?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. May I then thank the members of the public who had joined our meeting for your time and your contribution. We are now going to go into the governance matters, and we are going to close the meeting. Thank you once again for your interest, and thank you for keeping us always on the straight line, always on our toes when it comes to matters of regulating the three industries that we